Today's question on the vlog is one that I've heard many times in many different ways. The individual says, I have been sexually abused. It happened when I was young, and I keep hearing people say that I need to go to counseling, but I don't see how counseling is going to help. It can't make the things that happened to me untrue. Counseling can't unwrite history. Thinking about what happened just makes life worse. I can't imagine how talking to a stranger about this would make me feel. I want things to be better. I really do. And I would do counseling if I thought it would help. Can you tell me what I could expect and how counseling might benefit me? Let me start by saying thank you. Thank you for having the courage to trust me with this kind of question. For those who have been abused and gone through trauma, hope and expectation can feel like dangerous things. As you begin to let yourself think that things might be better, that there could be something to help, and just that thought of, I don't want to be hurt, I don't want to be disappointed again. And I think that sensation is even more difficult when the person who may have abused you is someone who should have protected you, like a parent or a teacher. Now, I would also say that you raise many good points and common fears in your question. There is a particular reality that talking about the things that have happened to you can make things more emotionally difficult for a while. But there's also a counter reality. Allowing pain to fester and confusion to echo always makes things emotionally more difficult, and there's no sense of progress or direction that comes from that. Now, the piece that you asked there about what is it about counseling that could help, I think is a really important question. What I'd like to offer is 5 things that I think good counseling in the area of sexual abuse should be able to provide, and the kinds of things that you should look for in that counseling. First, counseling should give you a safe place to talk about things that feel very unsafe. This is the counter to trauma that you experienced when you were young. That when, as children, we should be able to have something go wrong and come to a trusted adult and say, how should I think about this? What happens? And that is part of innocence. And so in counseling, you having a place where you can talk about things that are unsafe and to feel honored and protected in that. Part of the counselor's role is to honor the pace at which you're ready to see progress happen in your life and to not push you beyond the pace at which you're ready to go. Now, a second thing that counseling should offer is a place for you to talk about shameful things with your head up. One of the things that often happens in the context of abuse is this deep sense of shame that just seems to define who you are. And to be able to talk about those things, not needing a tone of defiance to say this shouldn't have happened, or to have a sense of hiding of I shouldn't be talking about this, but to have someone that you trust, that you can talk to, that you can look into their eye and see a sense of compassion and understanding as you talk about the things that have happened to you is powerfully important. Because whenever damage is done in the context of relationship, then relationships are also going to be an important part of that healing process. A third thing that counseling can provide is a place to rightly name the people, the experiences, and the emotions in your life. When someone faces abuse as a child, that's a time when they just don't have the life experience to think about and to name what they've gone through. To be able to say that the person who did this to me, that was wrong, this was evil, it should not have happened, that if there were those who knew what was happening and for whatever reason did nothing, that their complicitness in that abuse was wrong. If the person who abused you or the person who was complicit in that abuse was a caretaker, as a child, it can feel very wrong to say that, no, that shouldn't have happened. To be able to identify the emotions that you went through is also a very difficult thing, but that is so important in having an accurate view of your own life story and what's happened in a way that you can make sense out of life and live healthily in the present. Now, a fourth thing that you would be able to expect from good counseling in the area of sexual abuse is for you to be able to grieve the losses that you experienced as the result of your abuse without so many of the lies that often get embedded into abuse and suffering. For you to be able to talk about your history yet at the same time recognizing you are not who your history says you are. To be able to talk about the things that your abuser said to you, maybe some of the threats of silencing or shaming that they put on you, but at the same time being able to recognize you are not who your abuser said you are. To be able to talk very honestly and frankly about some of the disbelief and confusion that you fear with without thinking I am what my disbelief says I am. And to be able to talk about the very powerful emotions and feelings that you experience as you go through this with being able to recognize you are not who your feelings say you are. Those are an important part of being able to grieve the losses without embracing that as your identity. And then finally, the way that I think this process works best is to be able to work through your present challenges in light of your past suffering. Counseling is not primarily about reliving, because you're right. No counselor can unwrite the past, but counseling can help you understand the impact of your abuse, which often does involve kind of reviewing certain parts of your past in a way that you can counter its effects in your presence. It can help you understand things like hypervigilance, that sense of always being on guard, of waiting for the other shoe to drop, of having this expectation of yourself that you need to be paying attention to whatever it is that you're not paying attention to that got you hurt before because you didn't know you were supposed to look for it. So you're always on edge waiting for whatever it is that's going to go wrong next, and understanding how that plays into your abuse. Ambivalence. The ability to understand why you can hold two conflicted thoughts or beliefs about what's going on in your world. That again, as a child, of having to believe that what this person did to me is wrong, it hurts, it shouldn't happen. Yet at the same time, this is the person who tells me to respect my brother and sister, to do my homework, and the same kind of lessons that I learn from other people. So you learn to hold on to two things that just shouldn't go together because you had to. And where does that show up in your life, and how does that affect you? Trigger events. The traumas that you experienced, and for a soldier on the field of war, when they experience trigger events, it's a siren, it's an explosion. But for you, it can be a touch, it can be a compliment, it can even be the quietness of being home alone, and where you think everybody else wants this moment. But when I was a kid, who walked through that door next was going to be what determined whether the rest of my day was pleasant or whether it was a nightmare. And so being home alone can be the kind of thing that creates a trigger for you that is intense unrest, and you just don't understand why that is. Or flashbacks and nightmares and the way that those intrude on your life, and somebody to walk with you and understanding this is why those things happen and this what can be done about it. Those are the kinds of things that you could expect to gain from counseling, that would make counseling hopefully worth it to you in that short-term emotional disruption. Now, I've included several resources that I think would be helpful, some books and blogs and videos and things of that nature, some counseling resources that I think would help you in taking some of those next steps. Now, whether you choose to pursue counseling at this point or not, I hope this conversation has done two things for you. First, I hope it's helped you feel less alone with the struggle that you have. And secondly, I hope it's made you feel as if you could reach out to a trusted friend, a pastor, or a counselor about the things that you've experienced when you're in a place that you're ready to do that.